start to decline with all the teachers, because I'm not mentioning, or I don't want to focus on the financial incentives, but I think we have to think here how to keep the teachers in this profession, how to encourage the teachers' motivation, because teachers' motivation is not only affecting the students' achievement, but also affecting the students' self-esteem, how to raise the teachers' motivation. Thank you.
Thank you. One more question? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is David Vale. I work for a project here called the Bustana Kusas project, which means Garden of Stories. Our project is funded by the Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation and supported by Zayed University and by KHDA. As a short response to Mrs. Almari's point here, our way of encouraging teachers is to turn them into authors as part of their training, so that they have an opportunity to see their work valued in published form in their own classrooms. Now, I've seen a lot of, a bit risky here, excellent practice put forward in English here, as if somehow we should accept this in this region as good. And I would question this. And I would throw the question back to the panel here. On what authority are you saying this is good or good teaching, when other speakers, other members of the audience have raised the question, what about Arabic? Why isn't Arabic at the center here? Why aren't there Arabic teachers sitting on the panel? Thank you.
Thank you. And one final question before. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mando Ramen from Sterling Publications. I'm a parent as well. My question is to everyone in the panel here. We're talking about bilingual children. What about trilingual? What about them? Because they have the burden, I don't want to say burden, they have the challenge of learning 3 languages together. And how much can a child take? And how should it be done? How better can it be with parent-teacher interaction?
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Dr. Blackwell. Can you retain the passion?
I think it's so important for an individual who has a passion about teaching. And you were talking about people who were upgrading their skills, who were continuing to learn, who were continuing to develop. And that, to me, says they have a passion for their job. And passion about teaching is something that we really need in all classrooms. Recognition, some form of recognition. I would love to have the colleges who prepare teachers think about ways to provide certificates, to recognize academically the work they have done. It rolls into the question of how do you keep good teachers in the classroom. So if we don't find a way to recognize and reward doesn't always have to be money. Reward individuals who are so good in the classroom and who continue to learn and development, we won't be able to keep them in the classroom. And I know when I was at the University of New Mexico, we developed a very special program for teachers who were at the point of burnout. They were saying, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired. I have to either retire or find another career. And we took them into the university and had them work at the university for a year with us while they were earning a master's degree. And it turned so many people around. There's so many creative ways that we could think of if the ed schools would work together with the agencies and the providers to develop these ideas.
Thank you, Peggy. Retaining teachers. How can we retain teachers in the profession?
Okay.
You're up, Ian.
Yeah, beyond the, and I don't want to trivialize this with pay and benefits and that kind of thing. We're past that, okay? We need a work culture that is stimulating and professionally rewarding, that comes down from the top. So if principals knew how best to run schools and understood what it was that would engage and empower and inform teachers in their school and truly make it a professional community, I think we might be able to retain teachers as their professional self-worth increases. And it all boils down again to, well, in fact, and it relates to a later question having to do with, why we are doing the things the way we're doing at the minute, and we're all here sat together in the forum. We look to a system where students appear to be, based on international norms, underperforming. And as a result of moving into a global economy that requires perhaps a bilingual ability, and I mean bilingual, I don't mean English. Everybody in my college speaks Arabic except me. And what they're doing in my college is they're learning English so that they can use it in classrooms with the next generation of children who are going to spend their lives in a 21st century global economy that does business predominantly in English. So somewhere along the line we have to, I suppose, make a decision about how best to do that. I do agree, though, and I'm going to say this, and it's not an ADEC policy, so this is an Ian Haslam personal anecdote. I had a chance to chat with some PPP providers about the challenge of licensed English teachers going into a grade 1 classroom and working with a group of children who only speak Arabic and a teacher with an IELTS of 1.5. And I said, well, give me the teacher with the IELTS of 1.5 and we'll work on technical language of English back at the college. Oh, no, she's translating. How can you translate with an English level? He's not translating at all. And what a shock to the system, I think. And again, this is a personal, this is not an ADEC thing or a Ministry of Education thing. I would say this. I think if we were smart about it, that we might want to keep Arabic as a language of instruction for 3 grades, KG through 3. I think from grade 4 through grade 6 we go bilingual. And we move more to English as we get to grade 6. And after grade 6, from grade 7 through 12, it's all English, in the math and the science. But remember, Arabic and Islamic studies and social studies and art and physical education and health education continue to teach in English. But what a blessing. What a blessing when you've got a bilingual teacher in the classroom who can move from English to Arabic in any one of those different media, if you could have that. And then when the children finish their schooling and can go to university with the required bilingual skills to be able to function in either an Arabic medium or in an English medium. I think that would be the goal, but I do think we have to roll it out a little differently.
If I can speak to keeping teachers in classrooms. And Ian talked about developing professional communities, and I think that's really important. If we can develop the sense of teachers as professionals, professional communities in the schools, I think a license system goes far toward that. And I'm not talking just about standards for teachers. I'm talking about a license system like we license a lawyer or a doctor, where there are perhaps steps on a license systems where good teachers can move to the next step and continue to advance on a license system scale. In the U.S., we have something called the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. It is the ultimate step on the license where you become a national board certified teacher. And that brings with it all sorts of recognition, not necessarily money. So licenses can, if they're used properly, can be a real incentive for teachers to stay in the classroom.
Thank you, Peggy.
I think also added to that, if and I think Peggy mentioned it on her slides, the ethos here of a very short school day and a very short semester or academic year. If we were to look at actually the culture of school and the school hours and spread things out a little bit more, teachers would not become so overburdened, so tired, because we're trying to cram so much curriculum into such a short space of time. Where I come from in the UK, the national curriculum is so large that they can't fit it in the number of hours and the number of weeks and the number of days that they've got. How on earth can we expect our Emirati students to fit as much in much less space of time? So if there was a process whereby the academic year was actually stretched out a little bit more, and there was more time for teachers to prepare and to plan lessons and to carry out their tasks, they perhaps wouldn't be so burnt out so quickly.
Thank you, Jane. On the third question, I think maybe I should answer that as the panel inviter. You're right, it's a fair question. Why do we have 4 white people and myself, a white person, talking about education and teacher training in the Emirates? And you asked on what basis do we judge what is good? You know, how do we know it's good coming from Australia, coming from UK, coming from the USA? Is this really good or not? And based on whose criteria? But what I think is more, the question is, are the children in the UAE enjoying school? Now, I have done extensive research within government schools in the UAE. So I can speak to the fact that male students are not enjoying school. So on that basis, I would argue that we can improve here. And I know that most boys do not enjoy being in school. They don't find education relevant to their lives. They don't find it relevant to their future. And they are very disenchanted with how things are working out. And I think we're seeing this manifested in different social problems that are coming up now that I didn't see 10 years ago when I first moved here. So I think in answer to the first part on how do we judge what is good, I think we judge it by what our students feel and what the students here are feeling. And I think the students want more from their education experience. And I think they want something that is more engaging, that is more lively, that is more student-centred. And I think that's the first part. As to why we have 5 white people up in front of you, unfortunately the case in the UAE now is that the most of the deans of the colleges of education are white males, with the exception of Dr. Blackwell as a female. It's true, and it's not how it should be. And we should have more Emiratis involved in education, and we should have more Emirati people sitting here. And I think Dr. Fatma would be an excellent person for our next panel. But it's very true. And we do need to attract more Emiratis to the profession, males and females. But as Dr. Fatma said, the issue is how do we retain them? How do we keep them in the profession long enough to be the Dean of Education? How do we keep them even in the ministry long enough to have some sustainable change when there's been such significant changes and turnover of Emiratis within the ministry itself? So I think it's a very valid point, and I appreciate the question, but I think there are real issues that are manifested in unhappiness of teachers, unhappiness of educators, and unhappiness of students that we can say that we can at least, I think, do better. So last question, and for the night, and thank you very much for everyone's question, is the issue of trilingualism. Who would like to handle that?
Can I talk about my experience in
sure.
Abu Dhabi Children's Kindergarten, where they have a Chinese school attached? So there are 4 KG1, KG2 classes and in the KG side, and then there's a KG1 to grade 1 and grade 2 class in the Chinese section. So what we've done is, because the children are learning Arabic, English and Chinese, we have topics running right through all the areas. So there's key vocabulary in Arabic first, and then it's reinforced in English, and then it's reinforced in Chinese. The children who are in grade 1 and 2 follow the same curriculum as in the primary schools, but with the addition of Chinese as well. It's amazing the vocabulary that the children build in a very short time. And surprisingly for boys, they love to write Chinese. I'm absolutely amazed at that they absolutely adore writing Chinese. Whether it's because it's so intricate, I don't know. However, development is good, providing, I think, that they have a context and they know what they're learning, and it's not in isolation.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's really wonderful to see so many people again turn out for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the speakers, and I'd like to give them a final round of applause, and thank you. I'll just highlight that we have an education conference coming up in April, Gulf Comparative Education. If you're interested, please come. You can register online. Thank you so much.
Talking about bad start, sustainability kind of stuff. Well, plus all the KGs coming
To compromise, that would be good. I went to the ministry today and talking to some of the representatives there.